close to the British Library. The morning in the Russell Square. And in the morning I walked out, I went out just for a walk. And the first thing I saw was Prince Darapranath Tagore stayed here. So there was a plaque commemorating him. Later on, when I went to other parts of London, I saw plaque saying Sir Rabindranath Tagore was here or lived here. I came to Barisal for the first time for university business in 2011. Mostly a very dear student who knew about my love for Jibanananda had arranged for me to go to Jibanananda's house. I went there was no sign saying that Jibanananda lived here. You know, it was one of the saddest things for me because I had spent so much time at one point of my life on Jibanananda. To come to Barisal and to realize there was nothing. You know. So it's good to have a Jibanananda Research Center. I'm told that there is a Jibanananda library. I think the time has come for us to recognize his true greatness, about which I think we can say there are no limits, as Asfar so brilliantly has pointed out in his keynote. I was surprised Asfar did not use the word capital. You know, he used anything but. But if there is an indictment of capital, you know, but we heard it today from Jibanananda, and it showed a Jibanananda which I myself don't know, because I actually had moved away from Jibanananda for so many years. But I'd like to thank the English department for organizing this seminar, and I look forward to this event. About Jibanananda and myself, I can say this. I studied in an English medium school in Dhaka, an O-level school in the 1960s, and I was taught very little Bengali. So whatever Bengali I learned, it was because of my parents, because in my house we had Bengali books all the time and I used to read as much as I could. But it was very informal and I hadn't read formally beyond, I think, the very basics that way. In the 1990s, somebody had gifted me a book. Actually, a student had gifted it to me much earlier on, but I took up the book in the 1990s. I read Bomlota Sen, and of course, I was completely possessed. I read another poem, and then I read another poem, and then before I knew it, he was in me. I like to, if you've heard me before, I say this when I'm asked to speak on Jibanananda, I'm reminded of a poem by Tarabhadra Rai, in which he says, ওই যে লাশকাটা ঘর থেকে নামলেন স্যার নেমে আমার ঘাড়ে চাপলেন, something like that, আপনি তো আমাকে আর ছাড়লেন না. And I think reading Jibanananda is like that. It's a possession. You could hear it today. You could hear his, Jibanananda possessing him through his short fiction today. And it's something that just no other ordinary writer can do. It's only an extraordinary writer who has that capacity to possess you fully. So that is how I got to know about Jibanananda. And so I spent, I would say, a couple of years working on it. And then I moved away from Jibanananda. I moved on to Rabindranath and I moved on to do other things in my life. I'm an academic, so I did a lot of other academic work, South Asian writing, post-colonial writing, and so on. About a month back, something happened. And I think it's a wonderful coincidence. And the first thing that happened was that my student Marzia, who's translating a book which some of you read, Oneke Poreche Ekhane, Ekti Komala Lebu, and she asked me to translate some of the poems I had not translated there. So I translated a few. And of course, once you start translating, and there's nothing like translating to make you understand a poem, because you have to read it very closely. You have to read it just like that, so that not only word, every syllable, every sound gets into you. So I was possessed by Jibanananda again. The same time that I was translating, I got a letter from Hiroshi. Just at the same time, I'm not making this up at all. And Hiroshi wrote to me saying that he had read my poems, that he was coming to Dhaka and to Barisal to make a film, and he would like to see me. The next day I got a letter from Mosi saying that they were doing a Jibanananda conference. And I think that the time has come for me to immerse myself in Jibanananda Das again. And after listening to Aspar today about the short fiction, we were talking about Jibanananda Das the whole morning, yesterday evening, and Hiroshi also. I think my time has come again to get back to Jibanananda Das. I think there's so much to do for everyone. And now I'd like to address the students here. I was telling Arif, I don't know, where is Arif? I was telling Arif yesterday, তুমি Jibanananda Das উপর কাজ করো না। And he didn't say anything. I said, he's an ELT person. So I said, big deal. Isn't ELT with language? Doesn't it deal with language? Doesn't Jibanananda Das, for example, write in English? And yesterday night, Aspar showed me one of Jibanananda Das's essays in English, which I had not said. Actually, it was on Calcutta. And we exchanged, ideas, we talked about it. And at one point, I gave the essay to him and I said, look at the sentence, Aspar, read that sentence. It was a 12-line sentence, beautifully structured, syntactically very complex. How brilliantly he writes in English. And if you read Jibanananda Das's essays in English, you realize there are very few people in our part of the world with that gift of succinct expression, very concise, very precise in his usage. So why isn't the English department here taking up Jibanananda Das and studying him? Why aren't people in Bangladesh doing much more work on Jibanananda Das than before? Our national poet is Nazrul, and of course, I think every Bangladeshi must live, breathe Rabindranath. I can't see any option. But sometimes I wonder, why isn't Jibanananda Das our national poet? Nazrul was not born in this part of Bengal. Rabindranath was not born in this part of Bengal. Nobody wrote about Bengal, this part of Bengal, like Jibanananda Das does. Why don't we own him? Why don't we have, why isn't he where the house is? Why isn't it a museum? No. Why don't we do much more than we're doing? I met on the plane, as far as I came on the plane, and I met a local influential politician, and I told him, "Apna kichu koren na keno ekhane?" Well, the English department has started, and I hope that the English department will continue in this vein, because there's so much to be done. Wherever Jibanananda Das went, they were originally from Bikrampur, but the family was settled here. He went to Calcutta to study. He got a job in Delhi. He probably would have died in Delhi because he just couldn't stand anything outside Bengal. He came back to Khulna, but he didn't like Khulna. He came here, and finally got a job and he stayed here. Then, because of partition, he had to leave, and if you read 1946-47, you realize the agony that in him that he had to leave there. And if you read some of his later poems, you realize that even in his last poems, the still center of everything that he did. If you read Dan's poem, that fixed foot of the compass was Barisal, because he always had Barisal in his mind, even in the poems he was writing there. So to me, it's a great thing to come to Barisal. And I was especially happy to come to Barisal this time in the monsoons, because I wanted to see Jibanananda Das's Barisal like he saw Barisal. And I'm sure it was in the monsoons that he saw it in its most lush sense. So it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be in this conference. Great to listen to Aspar, as I was telling him, dazzling us by rich excess. And I think, let me just conclude by saying that there's so much to do. One of my greatest favorites in English literature, in American literature actually, is Melville. And a very late discovery about me was Emily Dickinson. Melville, after he died, there was this letter that he wrote while he was alive saying that after I die, somebody will find tons and tons of manuscripts about me. And people actually did. They found out the manuscript of Billy Budd and a lot of other great works. Emily Dickinson's poems, as we know, she published only 6 poems in her lifetime, because she was a poet just like Jibanananda Das, who was far ahead of her time. I think the time has come for everyone in this room, English department people, and Bengali department people, Bangla people, to pick up Jibanananda Das as Bangladeshis, as Bengalis, and restore him, as far as doing, to the international stage and see him in an international perspective with the truly greats of the world. Thank you very much.